Aside from being at the forefront of the 1960s psychedelic curling scene, Jimi Hendrix was also an excellent guitar player. And really, even though he's one of the great guitar players of all time, there's a lot of stuff from his songs that you can learn as a beginner or early intermediate player that's going to help you immensely. Not everything he does is super hard, especially when you slow it down. So we're going to break down 3 parts of Hendrix songs: Hey Joe, Wind Cries Mary, and Manic Depression, and show how you can use those just as a beginner to start learning different songs. I was inspired to do this lesson because I just got some of these new Hendrix pedals. I got the Univibe and the Band of Gypsies fuzz pedal, and I think they're awesome. They come in a very sweet looking box. And first of all, we're just going to do the Univibe pedal through this one, right? Just kind of adds that classic vibe feel, right? The first thing we're going to do is talk about part of the song Hey Joe. Now, I'm just going to put the vibe on pretty much all these songs, even if they don't have them in the actual recorded version of it. But there's a part in Hey Joe that sounds like this. So, really, if you break it down, it's really a great exercise and just kind of like a great walking bass line to talk about. And something that a lot of people use as a finger stretch to get started out, as far as like getting your hand used to playing 1 fret per finger. Okay, so let's just learn it real quick. It starts on the 3rd fret of the A string, and then after that we're going to do something called a chromatic walk. A chromatic walk is where you just play 1 note at a time. You don't have to worry about skipping frets or anything. Super easy. So we start on the C on the A string, 3rd fret. Then we're going to go open E, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so open 1, 2, 3, just 4 notes in a row. We're going to do the same thing, but start with your pointer finger on 2A. And that right there, like if you're a beginner, that can actually be more difficult because really as you play, your fingers kind of stretch out a little bit. So, perfect stretching exercise that'll also get you some Hendrix street cred, right? So we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, same thing, 1 string lower. 2, 3, 4, 5, same thing. Now start on the 4th fret. 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so now if you want to make it a little fancier, you could do add a couple of picks to it, like all I did there is I went down up on the first and last notes of the run. So down, up, down, 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 down. As far as like the picking direction. After that, we can go into this. So we ended up here. So this is really a great introduction in maybe moving open chord shapes, right? So you probably already know how to play E minor chord. 2 on the A string and 2 on the D string. I'm going to play it with my ring finger and my pinky, right? So after we get to this run, we can do that same E minor shape but on the 5th fret. Open it up and then add the 4th fret. So 5, 5, open, 4, 2. Okay, so it's a movable shape into a kind of hammer-on triplet thing. Okay, so again, this is really easy too, and something that you're going to want to learn. Hammer, open to 2 on the A string, so you just hit the open string, and then don't pick it again, but use maybe your middle finger to come hammer on. Try to get a good even sound out of there, and then, so that was a downstroke with my pick. After that, upstroke the D string. Hammer on, hammer on, hammer on. Triplet, triplet, triplet. Triplet is where you just put 3 notes into 1 beat, so it has this kind of cool feel to it. Cool vibe. A univibe. All together, we have 3A, open, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, 7. The E minor chord on the 5th fret to the 4th fret, back to the regular position, then. Okay, so pretty simple, honestly. Now, we're actually going to jump to a different part of the song. Again, learn the whole song is a great piece of advice that I can give you, but I just wanted to kind of cherry pick 3 pieces of different songs that I thought would make a good lesson together. All right? The Wind Cries Mary, one of my all-time favorite Hendrix songs, and something that really works well with this pedal. So that really famous intro is what we're going for. And if you look at the full chord, this is really an introduction in bar chords that you can take at your own pace. I remember being a beginner in bar chords was super, super difficult. Specifically, the A string rooted bar chord. So what I mean by A string rooted bar chord is this right here. Okay? Where maybe you can even raise a bar. Like if I just talk about the notes that I'm holding down right now, it's all on the 6th fret or the 8th fret. My pointer finger is just barring all of the 6th fret, and then my ring finger has the 8th fret, D string, G string, B string, and then it's popping up so I can still hear the high E string. I remember that being incredibly difficult, okay? The interesting thing about this is you can actually take this as little pieces if you want. One of the first chords that you might learn is a power chord, where you have a root note on like the 6th fret of the A string, and then 2 frets higher, 1 string higher, you get a power chord, right? Something that's really valuable to learn in whatever kind of song you're doing. Now, this is really the beginning of this, okay? So you could play this as with just power chords and then more hammer-ons, okay? So we're going to do that first, and then we're going to introduce something else. So again, it's just a power chord rooted on the 6th fret of the A string, to the 7th fret, to the 8th fret. Now after that, we're going to do hammer-ons on the A string. Okay, so it's where we ended up, and then just a whole step, 2 frets at a time. So power chord 6, 7, 8, and then now we're thinking root note here being 8, which is an F on the A string, and then just going hammer-on, 9 to 11 hammer-on, 10 to 12 hammer-on. Now once you have that under your belt, just as power chords and single notes, then you can maybe start adding a lower 5th, okay? So what I mean by that is this power chord right here. We have a root note, and it's 5th. What that means is a root note and the 5th of its own major scale. That's always going to sound good pretty much no matter where you are, all right? Now, one way to kind of thicken up your sound from a power chord is to actually take the 5th below the root note, which, if you're on the A string, is just the same fret on the E string. So you could really kind of play this chord as an inversion. And I think really part of the sound of the intro of the Wind Cries Mary is hearing that 5th below the root note. So that's something that you can incorporate right away, even if you're not great at bar chords. Another way to really think about it is maybe a partial bar chord. So take your pointer finger and then just bar the 6th fret on the E and the A string, and still try to get your ring finger or your pinky on the octave 5th, which is really the 8th fret of the D string. So I've got 6, 6, 8. If you can play this, that's a partial bar chord, and you're on your way to doing a full one, right? So you can just do this. Again, one of those kind of chromatic walks. Really, Jimmy was a master of that. And then, now instead of just doing the single note hammer-ons, let's add that same kind of partial bar chord, where now I'm holding the A string and the D string, 8th fret together. And now I'm creating a double stop, which is really arguably the thing that Hendrix is probably most famous for in changing electric guitar playing, just the sound of double stops like that, right? So we've got 8 and 8 on the A and the D string, and then I'm hitting both of those, but then hammering on, just like we did in the first part of the lesson, a fret higher, or a step higher, 2 frets. So again, partial bars. Alright, so, again, Wind Cries Mary, one of the all-time great songs. Learn that whole thing, but that's just a few different things. Now, for the next one, I'm going to turn the univibe off and turn the Band of Gypsies fuzz on. So now we have a little bit more of like a little more of a rockin' thing. Manic Depression, another one of my favorite Hendrix songs, and really the song that really introduced me to what a major triad was. What we're going to do, super slow, is going to sound like this. Okay, so it's pretty easy, again, and it sounds good. So I'm going to start with my middle finger on the 5th fret of the E string. Now, if you play along with the song, he's tuned down half a step. I'm in standard tuning to make things easier for the people, because I'm a man of the people. And I'm going to take that middle finger, and just like we kind of alluded to earlier with the major scale, that is really responsible for all the music that you'll ever hear and love, okay? So a triad is a chord that has 3 notes. All right, it's really easy to find a repeatable shape for a triad, specifically this A major chord that he starts with. And again, thinking of chords as riffs is something that really advanced my playing a lot. And Hendrix does a great example of this here. So middle finger, 5E, pointer finger, 4A, pinky, 7A. So right there, those are the 3 notes that make up an A major chord. I just gotta say, this pedal sounds pretty accurate. I love this Band of Gypsies fuzz pedal. I'll link you in the description if you're interested in these pedals. They're inexpensive and they're inspiring, so check that out. Now the cool thing about that right there is it's a totally movable shape. So there's only 12 notes in music that we use. So you learn one shape. There's an A triad. There's an A sharp or B flat triad, major triad, B, C sharp. And again, he'll use these all over the place. So to start off, we're going to go A triad to a G, which again, a G is the 3rd fret. We're just rooting here now. And then after that, we're going to go one more chromatic run. Just like that. 5, 6, 7. So A triad, G triad. We ended up here 5, 6, 7 into some riffing. Okay, but really quick, I just want to talk about how that sounds and why that's maybe like a better way to play just like A to G. It's so much more musical playing that as really just kind of like this lazy triad. And again, that's the first time that I really learned why I needed to learn triads, was from learning the song, okay? So after we do this kind of run on an A to a G to a chromatic walk, we're going to have an open A into this like double pull-off thing. So now my pointer finger's on the 5th fret of the D string, my ring finger's on the 7th fret of the D string, and I'm just picking it once, pulling off, keeping my pointer finger down, and then again. So A. Now you could do the Hendrix thing where you have the A with your thumb, like that, and then do pull-offs. I just kind of like keeping it easy by having that A open. Now you can do that a few times. Then we have one more major triad. So this is a great example of using the same shape conceptually, but with an open string. So we want to add E major chord to this. We're going to play it by hitting open E, then 4E, then 2A. Okay? Now this is the exact same thing as maybe doing a triad like down here, an octave higher, but using a different part of the string set to do that. So, same idea, major triad, but different execution as far as where it starts. There's A, there's G, and there's E. So again, the part after the hammer-on riff, E to G. And that right there was a lesson in just seeing how a lot of these chords connect to each other. So you finish this one run of an E major triad, you end up on the 2nd fret of the A string. And that really puts you right in position where this note is the major 3rd of a G. So it's a great way to start kind of connecting shapes and seeing how they work together, right? And then once we get here, now we can just start jamming around Hendrix style with these little one-note half step. I'm just going root note. And then finally, the last part of this is unison bends, okay? Another thing that's great having a distortion pedal for, something that he runs into in a lot of the Manic Depression riffs is these unison bends, where there's one thing to bend a note. Like if we just take the 7th fret on the G string and kind of bend it up a step and come back, it sounds fine. But if you do that while keeping your pointer finger on the 5th fret of the B string, what we're going to do is we're going to bend this note into this note, which also happens to be this note. So eventually you end up with the same note being played twice because we're bending the G string's note up to whatever note we're holding down on the B string. So it really sounds great with distortion. You can hear it getting closer and closer. Right? So once you hit it, you'll hear those notes kind of rubbing against each other until you really get it. And especially when you strike the A string first. Then we do the same thing, but we're going to do it higher up on the neck. Now there's a couple different ways to do this. You could either take the same idea on the B string and E string, but I think what I want to do actually is more run it down from here to here. Okay, so now I'm lining my pointer finger up with where a D would be, and then just taking my ring finger on the 12th fret of the G string, and my pointer finger on the 10th fret of the B string, and then back. So doing a unison bend here, and then running it up to here, and then back, is something that he does in a lot of his playing. And it's really a lot of stuff that comes from different scales, okay? Like if you see this, you'll hear that like a lot of lick building can come from this stuff. So again, just wanted to run through a few different Hendrix songs that really helped me progress as a guitar player, pay tribute to the GOAT for sure, and kind of run through some of these cool pedals at the same time. So if you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. I'll talk to y'all soon. Thanks a lot.